Trombone Champ. Let your true self sing. It's a game that went slightly viral a few months ago, purely because people enjoy watching other people fail. One that I saw, thought that cannot be that hard, and was promptly proven right, as I finished the story in all of 3 hours. And one that nonetheless left an impression, because I believe it is at the center of a huge conspiracy. So grab your tablet, stretch those fingers, and let's kick some brass. Just a note, I'm using a tablet because I developed crippling tendonitis in my left hand due to years of trombone polishing, which makes it very painful to use for any sort of rhythmical stroking. It's perfectly okay if you use the mouse, but you will miss on this. Trombone Champ, released this year by Holy Wow, is a trombone playing rhythm game, which, if you're familiar with the genre, is a very vague description. To some, Geometry Dash is a rhythm game. And then again, to some, homeopathy is medicine. And I wouldn't exactly let those people prescribe my medication. No, Geometry Dash is a platformer with background music. And in a similar vein, Trombone Champ is a music game. Do you see me playing to the rhythm? No, I am the rhythm. And also the melody. In Trombone Champ, you make the music yourself, meaning whatever track you're currently playing is merely a suggestion. Break free of the chains of oppression. Stand against tyranny. Raise the bloody standard. With off hearts. The control scheme is unique, but very simple and intuitive. Use left click or almost any key to toot, and the cursor position determines your pitch. The default setting is inverted, which some would say mimics the way the instrument works in real life, but that doesn't explain why the scroll wheel is inverted as well, so I think it's just set in Australia. You've also got limited breath capacity for extra immersion, which doesn't matter, because stopping for 1 microsecond recharges all of it, and a backing track to help you toot on time. If you have any sort of video gaming experience of the sweaty kind and 2 functioning hands, I recommend using the mouse or tablet to aim and 2 fingers of the other hand to toot. Even the shortest notes need to be held down for a bit, so slow and deliberate alternating is optimal to get the best score. Yes, this does require at least Homo sapiens levels of coordination, but you will thank me once the songs get faster. One of the best details in Trombone Champ is that the tracks aren't arbitrary, but accurately overlaid on 2 octaves of the C major scale. Not only does this train your ear and improve relative pitch, but with enough muscle memory and sight reading skill, you could, theoretically, tape sheet music over your monitor and play whatever the hell you want. I personally cannot do that, because at age 7, I valiantly cried before each of my piano lessons, and thus got more time to improve my economy skills. But for the purpose of this video, I did spend 40 minutes memorizing La Marseillaise, and I'm going to use it. If you choose to play as the developers intended and stick to the rules, the score is there to give you feedback, and the game will even create a beautiful and useless graph. Honestly, just follow your ears, minus your deaf, in which case you dodge the bullet, because when you're starting up, the noises you will make can be a health hazard. A small price to pay to make the eventual competence even sweeter. And yes, I did S-rank the hardest song. I'm glad you asked. Speaking of small things, Trombone Champ does have a pretty modest selection of songs. It's mostly short versions of famous marches, classical pieces, national anthems, or everyone's favorite genre, doomcore. But it is enough for a smooth difficulty curve. Admittedly, I had transferable skills because of my 2 years of experience being in OC Degenerate, which uses a very similar control scheme, so your mileage may vary. Also, the difficulty rating can be somewhat subjective, because while yes, the chosen people who win 20% of all Nobel Prizes might consider this easy, for the rest of us, that shit's hard. Anyway, since it's literally impossible to fail, you can always try to mash through. The scoring system is quite lenient. Actually, let's play a game. Try to guess what score will this play get. That's an A. And what about this rendition of Eine kleine Nachtmusik? That's an S. And now I will play a completely different song half the time. That's a B. Yeah, there are 3 pages describing this system, but it boils down to keep the champ mode on during easy parts and you're golden. Unless, of course, you lost both of your hands in a freak frisbee accident, in which case there are accessibility settings that let you finish the story without the usual S-rank requirements. Oh yes, there is a story, so let's talk about it. But not too much, because I think I'm going insane. I get the baboons, the demon, and even Mozart's evil twin Trombone. But I'm not sure how the hot dogs fit into all of this. I've tried to find hidden Sonic fan art in the files, but there's nothing. What was the message then? Why is every tip a lie? And most importantly, who's your dealer? Because I really want what you're having. If this kind of humor isn't your cup of tea, you don't have to read a single word. The story doesn't really factor into the gameplay anyway, as all but one song are available from the start, and there are only a few trombone skins and tones to unlock. I'll be real, I played for nearly 40 minutes before even realizing I've yet to unlock anything, and then finding this extremely well hidden button. It also took another half an hour before I found this even better hidden button, but since I've got nothing better to do, I'll walk you through the game. I know what makes you tick. You're like a lab rat, hooked on heroin. You want those spoilers. So first, you'll need to earn toots by playing songs, with the amount depending on the track length and your performance. Difficulty doesn't play into it at all. These toots can then be spent on two different things. First is the baboon, whose head requires 4 S-ranks to unscrew and then has to be clicked like 15 times. This confused me greatly. Oh yeah, and you can disable jump scares in accessibility settings. Give him toots and you will receive a chest. Now, give in to the rat. Let it consume you. Click that chest. Click it faster. Use both mouse buttons. Get that dopamine. Get that reward. It's hard to describe how much I love this message. Right, repeat until you get the key and onto the collect screen. Get the sacks, crack them open and click the candle to summon a demon, who will take random cards for more unlocks. Comedy. If you don't have the correct cards, you can either reroll the demon selection or craft them using the game's secondary currency, turds. But do not, under any circumstances, turd the hot dogs, as we'll need those in the future, and keep at least one copy of every card for the last chest. Finally, there's another baboon hidden in the base cleft, and he's currently experiencing an acute coprophagia episode, so give him those turds. I would like to mention that I'm not making any of this up. Once you have all the keys and unlocks, you're nearly ready. Now get 10 hot dogs, set your baboon settings to these values, and click on Trombone. Choose the baboon skin and champ trombone, and then simply flail around. There is no score requirement for this. Congratulations, you've just become the trombone champ. So to summarize, the game is, colorful. Really colorful. Now that I think about it, I probably should have put epilepsy warning on this. On the plus side, as long as they are spasming on the ground, they cannot really stop watching, and the autoplay will probably show them more of my content. Huh. Then again, they won't be able to subscribe. But you are probably not an epileptic. You can. Finally, let's check off some important rhythm game features. 1. Does it have an offset selector? Yes, a pretty solid one at that. 2. What about scroll speed? Song specific and can be lowered. 3. Does it have actual music to choose from? Unless you're part of the unwashed masses who've been corrupted by rock and roll. Yes. And 4. Is the engine good? You know, that's the funny part. It's okay, but has one huge problem, which, believe it or not, used to be even worse. The inputs are responsive and don't get dropped. The scoring makes sense, but the trombone sound lags. Shh. Are you ready for the conspiracy to take the red pill? That was intentional. You really think someone competent enough to add all these quality of life features wouldn't notice that the sound has a 10 frame over 1/6 of a second lag? Of course not. This was a marketing strategy. All of those popular clips of people butchering songs, that's partly because they are being thrown off by the game itself. When I said the deaf people dodge a bullet, I wasn't joking. I tested this and literally played better with my headset turned off. No way that would slip through any sort of testing. And the final piece of evidence? The delay was eventually shortened to more manageable 5 frames, with no mention in the patch notes. Coincidence? I mean, yeah. Probably. Even after a fix, it's not perfect, but casual players won't notice. There are also scoring changes which made short notes much less finicky to hit, and nerfed songs like Havana Gia. Thank God. Specifically Yahweh. For that. But if you're not a casual and want the smallest delay, try switching to the muted or 8-bit trombone sound. The default and especially bass have a slower tech, which adds to subjective delay. Finally, there is a hidden buffer setting, which you can change to 256 to shave off another 2 frames. Though I wouldn't recommend going under 256. The game gets a bit weird. Overall, Trombone Champ is unique, funny, charming, and on the current patch, technically competent. I would say it's enjoyable for both rhythm game beginners and even the slightly more experienced. It is pretty short if playing for scores isn't your thing, so whether that's worth $15 is up to you. But you can use mods to add more content, and the devs keep releasing extra songs for free.